All right, back to our NHL draft rankings, and coming in at number 13, one of the highest risers in this draft class from the Oshawa Generals, it's Beckett Sennecke.
This player is a lot of fun to watch, Ross. Beckett Sennecke does a lot of really good things, but all you need to do is watch how confident he is going one-on-one up against other teams, and he's able to easily dangle through them. Um, I really like David St. Louis of EP when he did a Let's Watch video on him. I implore everyone to go watch those. But the perfect way to describe it is Beckett Sennecke slips through his defenders like water through cracks. Like that, he just goes right at them and somehow, some way gets the puck through and around them and then finds a way to retrieve it and then goes on with the play. And when you have a frame the size of that Beckett Sennecke has, you're able to do that. And Ross, we just spoke to Scott Wheeler and he mentioned Sennecke had a big growth spurt that he's still trying to work on and figure out. Once he's able to kind of adjust to that new size that he has, I think he's going to be a really exciting prospect. I mean, he is already.
He is already, and there's a reason why Beckett Sennecke's name keeps popping up for teams who are in the top 10, but teams that need a forward. Montreal comes to mind. And when it initially came up, like they're doing their due diligence on Beckett Sennecke, some people were like, wait, what? Beckett Sennecke is going to go in like the mid to late first round. Well, that just has not materialized. And a big reason why is the elite playoff run that Beckett Sennecke had. 22 points in only 16 games. He was a big reason why Oshawa was able to have some success. He's 6'3", 182, a January birthday, and his highest ranking is Corey Pronman, his biggest fan. And Scott Wheeler actually has him at 16, which is the lowest. So the range is 7 to 16. Bob McKenzie has him at 14 on his list. And I like the comparison that the Elite Prospects Draft Guide used. It's a Senator. It's Drake Batherson. And one of the biggest comparables that they have is they love to dangle. They will attack the forward head on. They're not looking to go around you. They're not looking to chip and then chase around you. They are looking to make you be on the wrong end of a highlight reel. Every time this guy comes down on the rush, he's looking to go through the defender's triangle, sneak a shoulder through him. He's like Gumby, the way he's maneuvering his body, but he's able to do it at this level. So how translatable are those skills? What is he going to have to learn to be able to project this talent at the NHL level? That's the biggest question that scouts are going to have to decide.
Yeah, and I think it's a fair question. Like I mentioned, I think once he's a little more comfortable with his new size, I think he's going to do a much better job at that. And Ross, you mentioned the comparable of shades of Drake Batherson. Another reason I like that comparable is he does a really good job using his range to break up passes, and you'll see him pickpocket guys when they're not ready for it, just because he has such a long stick, a long range, and that's what we used to love about Drake Batherson. Remember, it was kind of like Drake Batherson had shades of Mark Stone in that element, like the steal snipe Selly story. And Beckett Sennecke, when he's on his game, he can pick people's pockets, then dipsy doodle through the one defender that's back there, and then he'll find a way to score. Now, he's also a great playmaker as well. I would argue even a better playmaker than he is a shooter. But he's got a wrist shot that he's able to just skate into the offensive zone and rip it and beat a goalie clean as well. So offensively, there is a lot to like about Beckett Sennecke. I haven't really seen too many people say he's a defensive liability or it's like a red flag or anything. And obviously, plus minus not everything, but plus 33. Clearly, he's able to play a more complete game than some of these other offensively talented prospects. So I think Sennecke is a nice, well-rounded option with some upside here.
Oh, I think he's got plenty of upside. You could see him as a top 6 forward, right? He kind of fills that mold. I'd like to
Yep.
see him. I'd like to see him try to be a little bit more physical next season, but maybe that's a part of filling into his body and being able to dominate play. Like he dominated games. There's no question. And the OHL level, he dominated last year, especially in the second half. He kind of turned a switch at January 7th, like right after that. And from then on, he had a 5-point game in there. He had a few 3-point outings. Like, there were games that he took over, but I'd like to see him do it all next year. Like, come out there and show that you're going to be not only a member of the World Junior team, but a guy who's going to be relied upon to score for them, and a guy who's going to be out there every first power play. His next season, to me, is the biggest one. And don't have that option at the NHL draft. You have to base on everything you've seen to date. But I think if we see him, there's a chance by next January in Ottawa at the World Juniors that he's 6'3", 200 pounds, and that he's turning himself from not only just an elite offensive talent, but a guy who's almost like a power forward as well. And if he's able to add that tool to his box, all of a sudden we're looking at a guy who I could see him 2 years from now when we're doing those lists of top prospects outside the NHL. I could see him being a top 10 guy.
Yeah, I mean, it's not that crazy, Ross. Looking over my notes, I would say the biggest issue, and we talked to Wheeler about this, and he mentions it in his write-up of Beckett Sennecke. Sometimes he depends on going one-on-one and playing hero too often, and he'll get burned. Now, I just mentioned he's able to slip through defenders like water through cracks. He's able to get it done, but it's almost like that's his default is like, okay, I got the puck. There's a defenseman at the blue line. I'm going to figure out some way to get through him. And he's able to do that in the OHL. What's going to happen when he gets to the NHL and he's a one-trick pony and defenders are like, well, this is easy. I'm just not going to allow him to go through me. I'm going to play a tighter triangle and force him wide. And then when he goes wide, I know I'm going to be able to squeeze him out because he's not used to using that approach, or he's not used to using his teammates as help options for give and go or getting a pass through the neutral zone into the blue line. Like, it's going to be tough when he's so used to relying on that way of entering the zone. When he goes up against 6'4" defensemen that are veteran defensemen in the NHL, and they're like, you're not putting me on the wrong side of a Sports Center top 10 highlight. Nuh-uh. And then he's going to be like, well, how else do I do this? This is what I've always done. So I think that's where he relies on that skill a little bit too much. And as defensemen get bigger, stronger, and smarter, you might have a hard time having success.
But I still think he will have success. I think if we're doing like a risk reward weighing, I think that the reward heavily outweighs the risk.
Or Ross, you just need to come to terms with, all right, he's going to struggle with that. Let's get him on a line with an elite transition player that can solve that for him most of the time. So
this is my guy. This is my guy who will be. Now, I'm not saying he's going to be within my top 10, but if you count number 10, he's going to be there. To me, he is 10 or better on this draft class. I'm a big fan of Beckett Sennecke. What do you think for the Sens? How many stars?
So I got Beckett Sennecke at 4.5 stars, Ross. I also really like this player. I believe in the potential for him. When you see hands like that, it's really impressive. You got the size. He's going to grow into it. I think he's going to be a really good second line winger. So I like him as a player. However, if the Sens went up to the podium and selected him with 7th overall, I don't know if I'd love that. However, if they trade back a couple picks and they go with him, I could really be interested in that.
He's in my list of, I think, 11 players that if the Sens take them at number 7, I will spin zone it into them taking the best player available. That's how wide the range is for Beckett Sennecke and this draft class as a whole. Well, give me one parting thought about Beckett Sennecke, maybe what you would like to see him improve on the most next season.
Well, I'll go back to the one kind of red flag I've seen about him, and it's playing that hero game and forcing one-on-one plays. Look, nothing wrong with chipping it off the boards and dump and chase once in a while, right? Like, is that a highly successful play all the time? No, but sometimes you just got to get it in there and then use your size to win those puck battles. He's got the size. Once he gets used to it, I think he's going to become a more effective player. So Ross, what he's got to work on is get creative with how you enter the offensive zone.
Coachable, though. These are all coachable skills, and a big reason why Beckett Sennecke will not be lasting long at the NHL draft. He comes in at number 13 on our rankings with an average of 11.9.